have a comedian in the house by the name of Mitchell Kirk? Mitchell Kirk, are you in the house? Come on, Mitchell. Let's have a spotlight on Mitchell right over here. He's coming up the side. Mitchell, we're going to hand you a microphone. Good. Hey everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I just gotta say one thing. Thank God it is not open bar tonight, right? We'll get it worked out. Don't worry. My name is Mitchell Kirk. I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. Do we have a lot of people out there from North Dakota? That's what I thought, considering the events we're at. I think we get a bad rap up here in North Dakota. Like, I've met people who don't even know the state exists. For example, I was in New York City recently and struck up a conversation with this girl at the hotel bar. And when she asked me where I was from, I told her North Dakota. But then she said, "Really? Wow. You speak English really well." I was like, "Well, we've been part of the Union for well over a century now." But then she was like, "Do you get MTV up there?" I mean, honestly, it's like people think that North Dakota is a third world state or something, if that's even possible. Our citizens run rampant with malaria. Revolutionaries from Bismarck do battle with warlords from Fargo. I hear the UN stepping in soon though, so everything should be okay. Hate living up in ND during the winter, that's for sure. North Dakota has to be one of the only places on the planet where people are not trying to prevent global warming. Am I right? Up here we're like, bring it on. Forget the ice caps. Sick of these minus 46 degree wind chills. You ever find yourself driving to work in the morning, freezing because the heater hasn't kicked in yet, muscles sore from shoveling your driveway for 2 hours, looking out your window at all the cars in the ditch and just saying to yourself, people were not meant to live this way. What am I doing here? Then there's the accent, of course, Norwegian. I think we can all agree it's the only dialect that's cornier than Pakistani, right? People from the Midwest will get all defensive sometimes. They'll say, our accent isn't that bad, but it is. We're just too used to it in our everyday lives to tell. I mean, think about it. Irish people don't sound wasted to other Irish people. They sound normal. Same concept. I have these relatives from Detroit, Michigan, who like to give my family and me a hard time about living up here. They, like a lot of other Americans, think that North Dakota is lame. All right, we may not have professional sports teams or countless bars and nightclubs, but at least we can walk to our cars at night without having to constantly look over our shoulders, clutching a can of pepper spray. All right? And when my car breaks down and I'm stranded on the side of the road with a dead cell phone battery, at least I can rest easy knowing I have a pretty good chance of someone pulling over to lend me a helping hand, and that person is not going to try and jack my car stereo. So yeah, good for you, big city Detroit. The only reason people have heard of you is because you have the nation's highest homicide rates. All right? You're not that cool. I'm stoked to be here at the Miss North Dakota pageant. I really am. Donald Trump has a lot to do with these pageants across the country. He puts on the Miss America pageant, of course. He tries to make it out to each state's pageant, but unfortunately he chose not to come to ours because that North Dakota wind would just do a number on that gorgeous hair of his. Can't say I blame you on that one dying. It is not worth the risk. I like these pageants, but part of me thinks they're becoming a little old. Particularly with the MCs who can't count. Just kidding, you guys are good. Figured out. But no, particularly with the categories. Like there'll be an evening gown category, just saw the swimsuit category. I think we should jazz it up a bit. I'm a hardcore nerd at heart. I think there should be like a Star Wars costume category. Princess Leia excluded, because everyone would do that one, obviously. Doesn't Maria look stunning as she comes down the runway in her stormtrooper armor? Or we could keep the same attire, I guess, but just jazz up what the ladies doing it, Like an evening gown slam dunk contest. You fit a basketball hoop in here, no problem. I overheard some of the girls talking backstage about how much they love doing these pageants, which is always nice to hear. Then one of the girls said she likes doing them so much because they're just like prom, but without any silly boys to screw things up. I thought that was an interesting perspective. I'd like to start off my act by letting the audience get to know me a little better. As you just heard, I'm from North Dakota. One other fact about myself, and I don't mean to gross you guys out, but I have a really hairy chest. And it's just not cool these days. Thank you. These days it has to be as smooth as a baby's bottom, though. Which makes me too, can you guys do me a huge favor after the show? Would you be able to go out into the world and like convince popular culture that hairy chests are cool again? Because I'm getting really sick of shaving mine. Besides, it used to be cool. I mean, it hasn't been that long. Like, remember when Sean Connery played James Bond? I remember those photos of Burt Reynolds posing shirtless. He looked like a grizzly bear. I'd be the sexiest guy in the world if body hair was cool. I'm sure you're all familiar with the phrase, that'll put some hair on your chest. Well, what takes it off? I mean, I already own the movie Love Actually. What else do I have to do? Lots of lovely ladies here this evening. The Miss North Dakota pageant. It reminds me of my youth. I was very girl crazy as a young lad. Fellas out there, you remember going through that phase you go through right after you get your driver's license? Cruising for chicks phase? I was so girl crazy in my youth that I couldn't wait to get a start on this cruising for chicks phase. I got started right when I could, right when I got my learner's permit, which meant my mother had to accompany me wherever I went. She would always yell at me whenever I would try to impress the girls by driving fast, which was so embarrassing. Plus, by law, she would have to sit in the passenger seat, which meant my dates had to sit in the back, and that's not cool, man. You don't know the meaning of awkward until you cruise over to make out point with the head freshman cheerleader, jump in the back seat going for the kiss, and your mom sitting right there in the front seat. Let's talk about awkward. Got my hair cut not too long ago. What's up with hairdressers, man? I mean, don't get me wrong, I like them and all. You know, hairstyling is definitely one of those trades where all the females seem to have it going on. Am I right? Walking into a salon is a lot like walking into the Miss North Dakota pageant. It's a room full of babes. The thing I don't like about hairdressers is, I'll just walk you through my last haircut, alright? I walk into the salon to get my haircut, sit down in the chair. The girl's standing behind me doing that thing where they play with your hair for like 15 minutes. She says, so, what are we doing today? I look up at her through the mirror and say, getting my haircut. She giggles, yeah, duh, but like, what are we doing? What do you want to look like? I want to look like me, with shorter hair. Thank you. This guy knows what I'm talking about. That's when she giggles again, gives me the playful eye roll, grabs this Bible of a magazine, slams it into my lap, tells me to pick out a hairstyle before walking back over to the reception desk. While my hairdresser is in the lobby, texting back Mike, that guy in the Hollister polo who bought her and her girlfriends those fuzzy navel shots the previous evening, I'm flipping the mag over to the women's section so I can stare longingly at photos of Jennifer Aniston. Those magazines get your hopes up, man. I can make you look like a movie star, they always say. I never fall for it. Every time she comes back, I always hand her back the mag and say, here, I want to look like Zac Efron. If Zac Efron had thinner hair, worse skin, shaggy eyebrows, chiclet front teeth, googly eyes, and a lanky frame. Can you do that for me? What do I want to look like, as if it were that easy? Give me a break. Next time I'm going to a barber. And having said that, I think it's about time we got the goofy-looking kid off stage so we can bring on some more of the lovely ladies. Am I right? Thanks a lot. So, once again, my name is Mitchell Kirk. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Peace. God bless.